G'day guys, welcome back to SuperCoach with DR and welcome to the round 13 review. Look, for me, a pretty successful round in SuperCoach. I think it was largely due to my forward planning last week to be able to put myself in this position. Did manage to hit the magical 2,000 plus mark, and my overall season rank is the best that it's been all season, now 354. I did mention last week that I was prepared to take the hit. I did go down about 100 spots after the conclusion of round 12, but I wasn't worried because I knew that I had a few things up my sleeve for this week, and it's actually worked out perfectly for the time being. We know that there's one more bye in front of us, but I did also make a bit of a wacky move that was pretty unexpected, and certainly something that I didn't think that I'd be doing going into the round anyway. But these things happen. You need to sort of roll with the punches, deal with the news that comes at hand, and it was largely based on the fact that Ned Reeves was not selected this week, but we'll get into that when we check out the side. Look, overall, the start to the weekend for me was absolutely terrible. We lost power for about 2.5 days, so it was a struggle to do anything SuperCoach wise. Ended up having to plug my phone in the car and on the charge there and do a few blockies, because we just had no power. I had zero battery on my phone, and I won't get into it because everything ended up working out all right in the end. So I hope that you had a good round. If not, heads up, there is still some room to move up the ranks this week with some clever trading. But let's see how the team is actually looking heading into the last bye round 14. Now, I did make 3 trades this week. One was in my defence, one in the midfield, and one in the rucks, which, yeah, as I said, will surprise you a little bit, I think. But obviously my defensive trade in this week was Lachie Whitfield. I think it was a no-brainer trade. We'd seen his last 2 weeks, gone 110 and 120. All signs were pointing for this man to continue that great form and have a smashing game of what I thought to be hopefully 115 plus. Unfortunately, finds himself with a 74. I did notice during the game he copped a couple of knocks. We know that he's got a lighter frame. Whether or not that affected him and his ability to run out, I'm not too sure, but just didn't seem one of those games where he looked for those 1-2s, which is really Lachie Whitfield's bread and butter, I think. So unfortunate for this week, but I think long term this is still going to be a good selection. We know what his ceiling's like, we know what his history's like, premium numbers that he's been delivering us from season to season when he is fit and available and on the field. So although it was a poor week, I still think that it was a good move, because more importantly, he covers this week's bye, which is the really tough one in round 14. As you can see, I've got 3 blue dots there, as well as 5 who's a loophole. So we'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, Whitfield, disappointing this week, but hopefully long term it's still going to be a good selection, I think. Tommy Stewart, come on down, my man. 130 in a week where I needed him to go big. I know that a few people did jump on Stewart this week. I really advocated for Stewart and Whitfield this week in the stock market video. Whitfield didn't go that well, but Stewart, if you had have gone with him, you'd be extremely happy. This guy's just so consistent, and geez, was he Geelong's best player? Look, he'd have to be up there, wouldn't he? So it was the week for him to go big, and I suppose the only unfortunate thing for me is that I know a few people did actually jump on him this week. Lloyd, 104, again, he's just Mr. Consistent, isn't he? I didn't take a really close look at this game, but look, I'm not complaining with that. A Lachie Whitfield type score I am complaining with from a defensive premium, but 104 from Seagull this week, not a problem. Shorty, 111. I know that a few people, including myself, were contemplating trading him out this week. He's been up, down, but got a heap of the ball over the weekend. Had a pretty nice start to the game as well. And if you look at that score right next to him, Stephen May, I thought that he was one of Melbourne's better players. Really nice mark in the last quarter as well, that contested intercept. But the great thing with May, and I know I've sort of skipped over short, but the great thing with May is that I'm pretty sure he took almost every kick in today, and he was just that man that plonked himself in the space behind, waiting for that long ball to come in and either intercept or affect the play in some way. So yeah, terrific game from him. If he can keep doing that for the rest of the season, I'll be extremely happy, and we can hope to see a few 100+ scores from May. But yeah, wrap with these 2 blokes for the week. Look to trade one of them out this week. It's hard, isn't it, after 111, and they both seem to be hitting form, but they are both pretty inconsistent type players. It's not like we can expect 100+ each and every week from these two like we can someone like a Seagull. So the option is certainly there, but personally, I'm looking to hold on to both of them, I think. Ridley didn't play. Jones, disappointing with a 43. Kicked a nice goal. Was it in the last quarter? I didn't get to see this match, obviously, because I had no power. So couldn't even keep up with the scores. But have watched a few highlights, listened to a bit of the news, some of the chats and the blogs and all the rest. So, look, at least he's playing this week. Would you expect him to anyway? And I'm hoping that I can actually leave him there for the rest of the season as coverage. I don't think that I'll have to trade him out, which is going to be really, really handy for me. And Fife is that loophole. Wouldn't it be magnificent if somehow he jagged a game this weekend? I highly doubt it, but yeah, come on, Fife, you get a game or two. That'd be really, really nice, I think. Onto the midfield. So you can see the trade I made here was John Newcombe. So, geez, I tell you what, super, super impressed with this bloke. He's an absolute beast, an absolute animal. Even though he's only played the one game, I'm going to talk about him in great detail in the stock market video this week. Another rule to be broken, only usually wait for a minimum of 2 games to be played before they feature on the stock market, any player. But Newcombe, yeah, he's a bit of a different case, I think, particularly given the fact he can cover the bye this week. He played really well, 102k. What a tackling machine. He is just a mountain, this bloke. Loved everything about his game. Did he have more tackles and disposals? It would have been pretty close, I think, in the end. But wrapped it all went him. I just wanted an extra score on field. I'll work out who I traded out a little bit later on the video when I think about that. But I'll just quickly get through the rest of these guys. Clary Oliver, 108. Yeah, look, we want a little bit more from Piggy, but 108 will hopefully be around his, well, not his absolute floor, but closer to his floor. We want to be seeing 130 plus scores from him most weeks, and I think that we will for the rest of the season. No reason to doubt, the Piggy. Rory Laird, 132. This bloke is terrific, and scores like that give me the faith that I can actually leave him in my midfield for the rest of the year. I'm quite happy to do that because, as you can see, I'm all full down back now, and I have made a commitment to keep him in my midfield. But with the scores that he's been delivering lately, if you look at his 5-round average, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but surely it would have to be around the 115 to 120 mark. I'd say he's given us some ultra impressive scores lately, Rory Laird. So, yep, I'm happy to keep him there. And if you're in the position to even pick up a cheap Lockie Whitfield this week, and you're already full in your back line, for example, then I wouldn't really hesitate in moving Laird into midfield and bringing Whitfield in. Again, I think it was just a poor game from Whitfield. Expect a lot better from the rest of the season. Now, this was the big move from last week and a big reason for my spiking the rankings, I think. It was forward planning. It was a real risk last week. Look, I could have gone in someone like a Jared Lyons type. Maybe not someone like a Jared Lyons because I didn't have that much money, but I had a number of options who to bring in last week, and I could have brought someone in that was playing round 12 in order to boost up that first buy score, but I thought, no, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to try and protect myself in the next couple, and Jelly was the man for me. We looked at his numbers last week in my round review in the stock market video, and all things were pointing to a really, really positive next 2 to 3 weeks at least from Josh Kelly, and hopefully beyond. And a 147, there was no other decision for me but to put the vice captaincy on him, and he delivered in spades. 92 at half time, an absolute jet, this fella, when played in the midfield. He just dominated that wing when played out there. Also attended a fair few CBAs. How's that going last quarter as well? On the right foot, boundary, absolutely elite. So it was one of the more enjoyable games that I've actually watched this season, to be honest, mainly because I had this man as vice captain and he was absolutely tearing it up. And a 147, yeah, I was thinking 160 plus. That deserved a 160 plus for his impact that he actually had in the game. So absolutely wrapped to be a Jelly owner. It was a risk. It certainly was a risk, but after watching him play over the weekend, no one would be crazy enough. Not even Leon Cameron, I don't think. And that's a big call. That's a very, very big call. But you couldn't take him out of the midfield. Surely not. Surely not. He's one of the most elite midfielders in that competition. So don't waste him up forward. You've got Toby Green up there. He also played a pretty solid game. Josh Kelly, thank you very much, Mr. Vice Captain. Zerrett didn't play but was my captain. So worked out to be pretty handy this week. Titch, a 134. And again, stepped up when I needed him to. He's a raffle, Titch, but lately he has been giving us a few of these nice 130 plus scores. So his ceiling has certainly risen from what I thought it would be probably 6 weeks ago. He's been great and then pretty poor. Great, pretty poor. But great, great. I'm hoping that the trend can continue. If he can deliver me another 130 plus this week, it's going to go a long way to helping my rank, I think. But absolutely wrapped with Titch. I have been extremely harsh on him this year. I think it's mainly due to the fact that I traded him in really early after a nice game. He's been a fantasy pick of the past, but he's just been, I suppose, a little bit underwhelming this year. And it's his consistency which really does kill me. If he was giving me sort of 110s most week, it would be probably a little bit easy to stomach rather than, 130, 70 odd type score. But at the end of the day, it all averages out, doesn't it? And he finds himself, what's that now, 108 for an average. So, yeah, he's coming really, really handy this week and obviously next week as well. Brayshaw, oh man, at the start of the game, I think he was on 35, 40 points, something like that. Has a chance to kick a goal at the end of the first quarter, misses, and then unbelievably, the next quarter, this fella goes -9. His next 3 disposals after kicking that point when it should have been a goal, pretty regulation goal for an AFL player, I think. Who knows these days, so goal kicking's a little bit off everywhere, I suppose. But yeah, his next 3 kicks after that were all direct turnovers to the opposition. I just couldn't watch it. So yeah, extremely frustrating from Brayshaw. A 92 at the end of the day. He salvaged a little bit. I think it was in the third quarter. He hit back again. There was another quarter. It was either the third or the fourth, or I think he went about a 35. So, look, what do you do with him? There's a chance to get rid of him this week. But what I think back to last year is the fact that this bloke really stepped up when Nathan Fyfe was out of the side. So I'm not sure how long Fyfe is out for. If it's a season, if it's going to be the next 3-4 weeks. I'm really not too sure about that. But I'll have to assess that. And that may make me lean towards keeping him rather than trading him out with the luxury upgrade if I was in that situation. I'm not just speaking for myself here, I'm sort of speaking on behalf of anyone else that has Brayshaw, but certainly an option to trade him out this week. He's not going to be a top 10 midfielder by any stretch. Top 15, yeah, you're stretching probably again. So if you can and you've got a luxury trade to do it, you could actually get rid of him this week. Bianco, didn't see this one coming, a 23. Damn. Yeah, look, still a nice average of above 60, just 60.3. But, yeah, we wanted this bloke's score to count for us this week. A nice 70, hopefully, I thought would be on the cards, but a 23, I don't think anyone saw this coming. But that's what rookies can do. We can get a little bit overconfident at times. For me, I probably did get a little bit overconfident with this pick. But after what I saw, over the last 2 games, his VFL form, all the numbers suggested that, yeah, it was just going to be consistent at least 60 pluses. So that's going to hold his cash gen. But for me personally, I'm not even looking to move him on. He's going to be great coverage for the rest of the season, particularly with this link that I've got here with Fyfe. So I've got Laird and Bianco on the mids, and I've got Fyfe there. And as I said, hopefully I'm just going to keep Lachie Jones for the rest of the season as my D7 cover. So everything looks to be working out pretty good there, I think. Newcombe already talked about. We'll talk a lot more about him in the stock market video. The right move was to bring him in early last week. And again, I always advise against doing that. But the buys, they're a bit of a different beast. Sometimes you've just got to do these things. And wrapped that I did that. And the 3 blokes on the bench. Now, you notice I kept on to Zorko. I'll talk about why when I get to my rucks. And McRae and Walsh obviously didn't play this week. So this was the big move, and I think that you'll be a little bit surprised. Zach Smith finds his way into DR's Rusty Spoons. Now, why is this? I said that you'll be crazy if you were to trade out Brodie Grundy. We all want to finish with Grundy. He's going to be back round 15. Why waste a trade on someone that you know that you want to have in your side for the rest of the season? He's clearly one of the best 2 rucks in the comp, the best scoring rucks. Why did you do it, DR? Well, this is a reason why. I really needed some ruck cover during the buys. Now, I think this is a real pod move to make, and most people at this stage, I think, have Gawn, Grundy, Coleman, Jones, and some people even have Reeves as well. Now, that was a really unfortunate situation. That was my move all week, was to get Reeves in row for Reeves. really, really easy done, and then bring CCJ into the forward line. But with the news that Reeves was laid out, and I got onto this news pretty late, mind you, as well. Remember, I had no power, no connection, all the rest, but end up just getting the news in time. So I thought to myself, look, what am I going to do here? I ended up not making that trade, obviously, after the Hawthorn game. But then I was looking at the numbers, and my plan was always to trade out Zorko to Lachie Whitfield this week, given the fact that Zorko's at a really nice price. I've made cash on him. I said he's a muppet last week, was super disappointed with him and all the rest. You would have heard my rant on the Swordplay podcast to do with Spills. But in the end, I looked at the numbers and I thought, well, look, Grundy's break-even is pretty high. His projected break-even for the next 2 weeks is about a 170 odd, and then depending on what he actually gets in his first game back, it then goes up to around a 180 odd. So let's even just say it's a 160, give him a few more points on that projected score. I thought it's almost assuming that he's going to be going down in price. Now, after Zorko's first game back, it's pretty much assuming that he's going to be going up in price. So his break-even is around the 70 mark, I think the mid-70s, whereas Grundy's we're talking in the sort of mid to high hundreds. So for me, I thought, look, no one's going to have cover during the buys in the rucks in particular, particularly those people that traded out, that have Brodie Grundy. Others traded him to Rob. He's out this week. Nick Nat's out this week. Hickey's out this week. There's so many of the other, I suppose, second-rate rucks that you'd look to go to that aren't even available. So for me, Zach Smith was the man, because I thought, look, he's just over 200k, and in 3 weeks, he can get to 300k if he averages around 69 to 71. And what did he do for me on the weekend? Week 1 ticked off a 73. It was pretty scary. It was a real roller coaster, because he was on 6 points at half time, then followed up, I think, with a 19-point second quarter, then a 30-point third quarter, and around a 15, I think, in the last quarter. So that equated to a 73. I'm not sure if those maths or those numbers ended up working out exactly, but it was roughly, I think, those scores in each quarter. And again, if you listen to the podcast I did with Spills last week, super coaches who look at the fan footy scores after every quarter, and I was really riding every bump of this pick, because it was such a risk for me. It was something I didn't plan on doing, as I said, but at the end of the day, I did the maths, and I thought, with the money I've got in the bank, which is about 300k, I'll be able to make a forward upgrade this week, and then one more trade, and then I'll be able to use that money and Smith's appreciation to hopefully 300k to get Grundy in pretty easily. So that's the plan anyway. And the other thing that I was thinking, just at the back of my mind, is that there's never any guarantees when these players are actually back. So we think, or we assume, or we've been told that Grundy's likely to come back after the bye. But what happens if he doesn't? What happens if he just needs one more week, or they take more of a cautious approach and say, look, he should be pretty right, but we're just going to play that more conservative approach and give him one more week off? Then we're losing that score. So if I've got someone like Smith, particularly, that can cover for me this week in the really, really tough bye, if he scores another 70, just for example, I know for a fact that that 70 is going to be counting towards my score this week. And when you're getting close to the top 300, 70 points, yeah, that's a fair amount of points, to be quite honest. So I think that was the move for me this week. And given the fact that I feel I can get Grundy back pretty easily, and I'll talk about my trade plans after I go through the forward line, that gave me a little bit more security to be able to make the trade. So again, it's all about forward planning. I made this trade largely due to the fact that I'm going to get this score counting for me next week, where lots of other people, I don't think, will have a score there. If Ned Reeves comes in, I'll be getting his score as well, because I'll be trading him in. I've got a plan for that as well. So yeah, enough with the... Oh, no, and Maxi Gawn as well. So wasn't this looking bad? I think at halftime he was on about 35 points, and I'd already locked in the Jolly score. And you're in one of those situations where you know that lots of the competition have him as captain. You're sort of thinking, look, if you can get an 80, that wouldn't be too bad, because I know that the large majority of the top 5k anyway would have this bloke. A lot of them would have him as captain, so it's not going to hurt me too much, even if he scores pretty low, because everyone else has got him. But This man ended up coming back 123. It was looking so dicey though, wasn't it? But had a monstrous third quarter and obviously hit back in the last quarter as well. A couple of really important marks, I know. So yeah, Max Gawn, if you had him as captain, disaster avoided. But again, that does prove, and I'd be guilty of this because I said to Spiels, look, even if I had Jack Steele's score of what was about a 126, I probably still would have rolled the dice on Max Gawn, particularly this week coming up against Max Lynch. So you ended up getting out of that all right if you did do that, but maybe even lesson learned for me next time. Yeah, lock in possibly a 125. That's normally my rule anyway, but I just thought it'd be different this week. But yeah, Maxi, good job for getting back to a respectable score, we'll say, against Lynch from Collingwood. Now this man here, Aaron Hall. Now this bloke just doesn't like the old 1-2. He gets the 1, 2, 3, and sometimes 1, 2, 3, 4. He's that type of fella. Worried at the start. He had the Frenchman symbol on him. Mark Lacroix went to him at the beginning of the game, and I thought, oh, here we go. Hall's not going to get anywhere near it. Bad score incoming. The first bad score that I'm going to get from Hall since owning him. I think it's been about 4 weeks now. But this great man, and look, I'll tell you what, he butchered the ball something terrible at times. He, direct turnovers, out of bounces. Yeah, he butchered it at stages during the game. But this is the thing. He gets so much of it that he can afford to butcher it here and there. What was his disposal count? I think it was high 30s at the end of the day. And I must admit that 141, I was a little bit surprised because I thought that efficiency would bring that down a lot more. But I tell you what, if not for some of those clangers and turnovers, this was a 160 plus game if he gets scored a 140 for his performance. I tell you what, because yeah, there was a few dicey moments from Aaron Hall, but what do we love about this selection? We love his role. They just get the ball in his hands. He's a ball pig. He runs well. I think he worked pretty hard as well. I'm not sure if Lacroix stayed with him for the whole match. In the end, it wouldn't have mattered because he was just determined to get on the end of that ball, and he kicks it. I'm not saying that he kicks it well all the time. Usually he's a pretty good distributor, but you'd much rather play a kick than handball, or have a higher kick to handball ratio. But Aaron Hall's kick to handball ratio is pretty nice. But he does get a few 1-2s which add that little handball in. Super effective and super handy for a nice score. I've been banging on about this bloke for weeks and weeks and weeks. He's still a pod. There is no reason not to get him in anymore. Bring in Aaron Hall. What's going to hurt is his price tag now, $530K, particularly when people like myself got him in at 400, but still at 530K, check out his last 5 weeks. I still think there's value there, to be quite honest. Jay-Z, 90 plus. Look, where's he going to end up? Look, I think he'll still end up top 6 for total points in the forwards. From here to the end of the season, from this point, I still think he's close to top 8 anyway. Look, that ceiling's gone right down. Some of us are even contemplating chucking the VC on him at early stages during the season, but Hall has affected him. But having them as a pair, and I've said this for a little while now, a 141 and a 90 paired together for me, that's still really healthy. I'll take that every day of the week. So still happy with Jay-Z. Dusty, a 110, anything above 100, we love from this bloke. Still a little bit sloppy with the ball. Impacted the scoreboard, which was nice. I think most of us have Dusty by now, don't we? Obviously missing this week, which will be disappointing. Impy, is he a keeper? If you've got a luxury trade, I would be using it on Impy. Not this week. Look, and when I say not this week, I don't know, his break-even's probably going to be high. So for some, it may be this week or never, but ideally, I'm not going to trade out any playing players this week. I just don't think that we can afford to. My aim is to try to get to 18, and I think I can get there with a little bit of luck and 2 trades this week, which I'll talk about in a sec. But Impy, look, he's been thrown around a little bit now. His role isn't as solid as I thought it would be, or what it was at the start of the season, so I am a little bit concerned with him. We'll look at his numbers and talk about him in a little bit more detail in the stock market, I think. Poulter, a couple of direct turnovers from him, a couple of terrible kicks actually, but again, with all this coming into play, he scored a 60 plus, fantastic. But unfortunately, I think the relationship may be over this week. I think for lots of people it will be. It's the move that makes sense. He's 313k now, has been brilliant over the last 5 or so weeks, I think it's been. But the move is to move him on this week. If you can somehow get 18 playing without trading him, that's fantastic, because he's the ideal M9, F7 for the rest of the season, particularly with that DPP. You'd have to be in a pretty rare situation, I think, to do that. Waterman didn't play. R2 is really annoying me now. If you did, again, I refer to this Swordplay podcast a lot, but Spills and I did offer some sacrifices this week. I did offer a sacrifice for R2. SuperCoach gods didn't accept it for this week, so it may be gone for me this week. And Jimmy Madden, I'm really, really hoping, given the fact that Darcy Gardner's still out and Ryan Lester has a hamstring issue. I'm not sure if he's made a miracle recovery like he did last time, but I think that Madden plays this week. There hasn't been a game this year with with Gardner and Lester out of the side where Madden hasn't come in. So fingers crossed, and that's going to go a long way to getting me 18 players on the field. So yeah, that is the side as it stands. So out this week was Nathan Murphy, Whitfield in. Jimmy Rowe came out, so traded him to, where are we? Yeah, that would have been to Zach Smith via some DPP. Traded out Grundy, and who else was it? I can't even remember. I'll have to work that out, because I definitely made 3 trades. Yeah, not too sure. It's amazing how much you forget. And I study this team so much during the week, and it's amazing who you forget, who you even trade out. But anyway, for me this week, so let's see how close we can get to fielding 18. So obviously, I'll have May and Short. I'm not planning on trading him at this stage. Let's say by some miracle 5 comes in. Will not happen, but let's dream just for a second there. So it'll be really handy to bring McRae back on. So Laird will have to go. Even with the DPP swing I've got there, can't really help me out. 5 won't play. Bianco's got the bye, and Laird's got the bye also. So can't really do anything there. Clary will come off for Sam Walsh. So at this stage, I'm running with the 2 donuts down back and the 2 donuts, unfortunately, in the middle. So not great. This is where Zach Smith comes in really, really handy. So he'll come in for Maxi Gawn or CCJ, depending on what I want to do. And then, I tell you what, fingers crossed, and I keep on crossing the fingers. Prayers to the SuperCoach gods. Please, please be kind. But James Madden, surely he's got to come in for Ryan Lester. Surely this man comes in so he can then come on for Dusty. And then that brings me to my trades. So if I can pull off these 2 trades, I think I can field 18. Now remember, at the moment, I am 2 down in defence. I'm 2 down in the midfield. I'm 1 down in the ruck, and I'm 1 down up forward. But I want to change this situation here. Now, this is all with great hope. Now, I'm not really expecting this to happen. Ned Reeves coming in. Reason being because I think Segler played out of his skin, played a super game, and it's going to be really, really hard to drop him. But ideal situation for me, even if Segler stays or goes, I can't see Reeves and Segler playing on the same side unless they maybe drop a Tim O'Brien, try to trust Segler forward, because he did clunk a couple of nice marks up there. We'll see what happens, but let's just hope and pray that Reeves does come in. What I'll be doing is I'll be trading out R2 and making some use of this DPP with CCJ. I'll swap him in, and then I'll bring Reeves in the ruck. There we go. So that will ensure that now I've got 2 players that will be covering the rucks in the round 14 bye. And this is the trade that I'm really, really not sure on. Now, you can see I've got 392k. Poulter's one that comes out. Originally, I was all over, absolutely all over Kyle Langford. But the issue now is that I think Essendon is starting to get some of these blokes come back in. Now, Dev Smith, I think, comes in this week. I don't think that he plays through the midfield, probably half forward. I'd be expecting him to play. Again, not sure about that. But Dylan Shields, the interesting one. Now, I'm not sure if he will be available for this week, but maybe the week after. And that does scare me a little bit. But let's just say that I do go with that Langford selection. That will then give me 231k in the bank with only one upgrade to make. The other blokes that I could be looking to get in, I really like the look of Bailey Dale as well. He's someone that's going to cost me 50k more, but I like his role. I think it may even be a little bit safer than Langford, so I'm not sold on Langford pick at the moment. You've got Bolton there, but I'm hell-bent on getting someone that's going to be playing this week. So Bolton's now out of the equation. Dangerfield is certainly an option, but he didn't look great over the weekend. I think it's still going to take him a little bit of time to return to his best football. So let's just say for now, it's probably going to be Langford or Bailey Dale. We'll go with Langford at this stage, just for argument's sake, just so I can lock in the trades for now, just to give you a look at the side. And hopefully, if by some miracle Reeves comes in, again, I'm not too confident on it. That way, I now fill the 2 ruck positions, and if Madden can hopefully come in and play, and now Poulters upgraded to Langford, then that gives me 18 playing this week. So if you've got 18 playing this week, that is absolutely massive. And now, I suppose what the plan is, I've got 231k left in the bank. I don't think that that's going to be enough to allow me to go Smith once he gets to 300k up to Grundy. He'll be a little bit more than that. But what you will notice is that I do have a full midfield plus Zorko here. So off Bianco and Newcomb, Laird and Oliver come in. So that really doesn't work for me at the moment. So the trade for me next week is I'm going to have to probably let Waterman go a little bit earlier. Waterman will be traded into the midfield. Not sure who for yet. Might even just be a DPP swing for the sake of having it there. Zorko will come in. That will give me, depending on how much Waterman goes up this week, I think his break-even's 10. Let's just say he gets a 55, goes up about 20k. I should make about 100k on that Waterman trade. If you add the 100k to that 231, then if Smith comes out, goes another couple of 70s, which I think that he'll do. I hope that he'll do. Anyway, that's what he's projected to do. It's going to be a nice, easy trade to Grundy after that Waterman trade. So that will leave me with 5 trades and a fully completed side. And I do also have the move as well of maybe trading out, maybe a Brayshaw this week. I could afford to get him to a Bontempelli, to a Parish, to a Jared Lyons. That could be a big move as well. The reason why I'm probably leaning against that is that after I do the Waterman trade and end up trading Grundy back in, which will be probably, I'll get Grundy in after he comes back, so probably round 16, I think. That's the goal anyway, or that's the plan. I'll have a fully upgraded side, and I'll still have Jones as defensive coverage on the bench in my defensive line. That's really, really handy. I'll have Newcomb, who I think should play the majority of games for the rest of the year, as well as Bianco, who, even though he had a pretty poor score on the weekend, I still expect him to get regular games from here to the end of the season. And having that DPP swing with 5 to be able to move him down back if needed is really, really handy. So confident with Jones, confident with these 2 blokes here. And that will also allow me to have CCJ on the bench as well, along with Jimmy Madden. So I'm really, really happy with that. So I may even be able to make that Brayshaw move this week, depending on how I'm feeling. If one of these rookies goes down with a pretty terrible score earlier on the week, or even a Madden doesn't get up, I may actually make that move to get 18, and it could really help to skyrocket me up the ranks. So with fingers crossed, that will be how my team looks this week, with how many trades I've got left. Is it 7? Yeah, 7 trades left. Obviously, Grundy to come in. I'll be able to get Grundy in 2 more trades. So 5 trades left, completed side with some pretty handy bench coverage, I think, in, Jones, Bianco, Newcomb and CCJ, as I mentioned before. And it does give me a few options going into the future. Look, there is even the suggestion that I could trade out Dane Zorko if he's affected when Neil comes back in, starts playing his best footy. Jared Berry comes back into the side. Yeah, maybe Zorko down to danger, and he could make 70 to 100k possibly doing that. So there are a few things I am looking to possibly do even after my team is completed, but I think that's a pretty ideal scenario. A completed team with 5 trades left over, just for a rainy day, maybe a luxury upgrade, or in case there's some absolute injury carnage. yeah, I'm pretty happy with that at this stage. So highest season rank so far. If I can get 18 on field this week, hopefully I can manage to get possibly even inside that top 300. That'd be really, really nice. But that's it for now, guys. Hope that you had a ripper read yourself. I will be doing the SuperCoach Swordplay podcast with Spills tomorrow night, and I'll also try to upload the stocky hopefully by Wednesday afternoon. That's my aim anyway. Get out there a little bit earlier. But that's all from me. As I say, guys, all the best. Take care, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Cheers. Bye.